Obviously, the subject of the webinar focuses on suicide and suicidal behaviour. If anybody's experiencing distress, if you want to stop on at the end, or ring Samaritans or speak to a friend that, you know, and just, you know, have support, emotional support. They are difficult topics, but we believe that this needs to be talked about. We're also talking about cocaine, which is a Class A illegal drug. And this information in no way condones or glamorizes any drug use. It's totally aimed at harm reduction and to prevent suicide. I'm Maggie C, or Maggie Corkill. So we're talking about Christmas partying and cocaine. Most people love a good blowout over Christmas, and it's no secret that along with the copious amounts of alcohol that's legally available, there's also an alarming increase of coke in our communities. When people first begin to use cocaine, it's usually only used at weekends or celebratory events, much like the use of alcohol. It's first seen as a treat and reserved only for going out or with friends, so users don't consider themselves as being addicted. More adults in Britain than anywhere else in Europe are taking cocaine recreationally. Its availability has hit unprecedented levels across the continent, making it the second most common drug in use behind marijuana. It's particularly prominent in the culture of 15 to 34-year-olds, but difficult to obtain any official figures of consumption due to its illegality. And also the fact that most people indulging in this don't contact services. It's cheap and extremely accessible, with dealing taking place on the internet like TikTok. It's not just the rich and famous celebrities anymore, and no thanks to the way it's portrayed in popular media. It can be a difficult drug to quit due to its casual social use, and those who try often complain that spending time with friends that continue to use or live the party lifestyle is what causes them to relapse and begin taking cocaine again. Christmas can be a huge obstacle for people who are trying to abstain, particularly if they are drinking alcohol, which lowers their inhibitions. 91% of cocaine users aged between 19 and 45 were also found to abuse 2 or more other substances alongside cocaine, most commonly alcohol. So just do a little myth busting. So for people who think they can't get addicted, the term addiction means developing a reliance, although it's suggested that it's not a physically addictive drug. They do become reliant on it, and if an individual finds that they're unable to cut down or quit using cocaine even on a weekly basis, it is a sign of addiction. That they don't get as drunk when they're taking cocaine, that's obviously false. Alcohol is a depressant and has the opposite effect to cocaine. So when they're taken together, it actually doesn't cancel out the effects. It just masks them by making them feel more alert and having increased energy. They can stop taking cocaine whenever they want. While in theory that's true, but unless they stop drinking alcohol or going out into the same social circles, they'll probably continue to battle with lowered inhibitions and from peer pressure. They can keep drinking all night when they take coke. That's unfortunately true. And a number of studies suggest that the presence of cocathylene actually results in increased alcohol consumption, binging. Chronic binging is associated with a number of issues, including liver damage, cardiovascular issues, nerve damage, alcohol poisoning, poor judgment, and quicker development of severe alcohol dependence. I'm not a druggie. I only take it when I'm out the odd weekend with my mates. Even though they might not indulge during the week, the effects of both drugs will continue to remain in their system for many days and will continue to damage their health. Repeated weekend binging will increase the risk of fatal damage. This is one that's key. They don't feel as if they have any mental health issues. That might feel like the case, but dependence on substances significantly affects the worsening of paranoia, depression, anxiety, severe mood swings, and suicidal ideation. A 2019 study found that cocaine is taken by 70% of all drug users. But despite this high number of regular cocaine users, only 14% actually seek help from healthcare professionals. So mixing cocaine and alcohol together is one of the most common forms of polydrug use. People often mix these substances together because one will allegedly reduce negative symptoms from the other, as we said earlier. Alcohol also enhances euphoric effects from many substances since it acts directly on the GABA receptors, therefore increasing the release of neurotransmitters. The self-reported high associated with both is more intense than either drug alone, so this can lead to abuse, addiction, dependence, and serious health consequences. Alcohol slows the reaction time and reflexes, reduces inhibitions, impaired judgment, confusion, anxiety, and dehydration, whereas cocaine gives an intense and energetic high, increased risk-taking and restlessness, irritability and aggression, and decreased appetite with insomnia. One of the most serious problems with mixing alcohol and cocaine occurs when the two are metabolized through the liver. The organ produces cocathylene, which can build up in the body and put stress on major organs, particularly the cardiovascular system and the liver itself. Cocathylene temporarily enhances the high associated with both cocaine and alcohol, but this euphoria also increases blood pressure, aggressive and violent thoughts, and poor judgment. It will build up to toxic levels in the liver. Cocathylene can also seriously increase the risk of suicide. A study conducted at Brown University in the US found that combining alcohol and cocaine does increase the risk of suicide. Among close to 1,000 people who were admitted to the emergency room for substance abuse, those who mixed cocaine and alcohol were most likely to attempt suicide with 1 year after emergency treatment. Out of the study population of 874 individuals, 195 people attempted suicide at least once. So this is Jacob Abraham, age 24. The picture was taken the weekend before he took his own life, following a weekend partying on cocaine and alcohol in Cardiff in 2017. He was fit and healthy and had booked a holiday for him and his girlfriend that weekend. The second picture was Thomas Smurden, age 22. Like Jacob, he was the life and soul of the party, showing no signs of mental health issues. He took his life following a weekend partying with his friends in March 2019 in Merthyr Tydfil. When I met Tom's mum, who I think is on the call today, Nicola, in December 2019, I said to her I couldn't understand why there wasn't more general awareness around this issue. But here in the UK, there seems to be issues around the coroner's reporting, the inconsistent toxicology tests taken, and the inquest verdicts, which affected the lack of academic research here. However, after receiving yet another media report of a young man dying in Pontypridd in early 2020 by similar circumstances, we decided to do a little survey to see if we could find more about this culture. This was something I knocked up one Thursday night, so I didn't think through all the questions, probably in an academic way. I'm not from an academic background, but what we did find out was that 820 people actually responded to this survey. It was shared on Facebook and a little bit on Twitter. It was a 10-question survey about the issue. And some of the results, as you can see here, are quite interesting. Although this doesn't report, although this doesn't actually reflect the amount of people who have died by suicide of this issue, what it does reflect is the amount of people that are affected by this. And this is why, we continue to create the awareness that we are. So to go through some of the figures, it was reported that 97% of the deaths were male. There was 77% did not have diagnosed mental health problems before the death. And 81% were 19 to 34 when they died. So, sorry. So yeah, what we've been talking about and understanding from the information that we've received since going public with this, we understand that the highest, that it predominantly seems that we're looking at ages 15 to 35, predominantly male. We all know that suicide affects 3 out of 4 deaths are men, and it's the biggest killer of men under 35. We believe that, although it does happen outside of these ages, and it does happen to women as well, but it's because of the intersexual competition is strongest for risk taking at that age, which makes them more prone to getting into this scene in the first place. During adolescence, there are hormonal changes in the brain, which makes teenagers more focused on having positive reinforcement, which they get by being included socially. This makes peer pressure and being accepted more important to them during this time. Also, the areas of the brain that handle impulse control and planning don't completely mature until the mid to late 20s. Excessive drinking is seen as an accepted part of masculine behaviour and coping, and tend to use alcohol or other substances to escape their troubles and blow off steam. As we said before, the people in this profile can be fit and healthy with regular jobs, in relationships and from good supportive families with no obvious signs of mental health issues. So earlier this year, myself, along with Jacob and Tom's mum, created a CoOp Alliance, which covers the area of South East Wales, so that we could join forces with other organisations in raising awareness around the links between Cocathylene and suicide. From the various meetings and presentations we've engaged in amongst professionals and the general public, we're now gaining a lot of support for this work. As many people have confirmed that they knew that there were links, but there was little information or UK-based research. So it was a welcome piece of research was released in March 2021 of this year, which looked at the cocaine and alcohol use prior to suspected suicide, insights from toxicology. The details are on there. If you want to look it up, I can supply the links. But the conclusions basically stated that the current public health advice does not mention that cocaine or alcohol use is associated with suicide. Fundamentally, that it's not even mentioned on the Talk to Me Too Welsh government strategy, which is something that we're trying to change at the moment. It also states that it highlights the need for increased public education about and public health interventions to address alcohol and cocaine use in suicidal acts. So very much backs up the work that we're doing. In June this year, while we were sharing awareness around on social media, I was contacted by a mother absolutely distraught. She basically identified with the issues that we were making known and wanted help in protecting her son, who was at the time age 17. He was in crisis, and at the time that she contacted me was actually in a prison cell because the mental health services didn't know how to protect him. The mother described a battle of wills between police, children's services and the health board, with each agency attempting to hand the young man over to each other. A lot of this is her words. Instead of working together with the goal of saving his life, crucial information relating to his state of mind and behaviour was withheld or misrepresented with the aim of avoiding responsibility for safeguarding him. He was then released into the care of the family despite their concerns of being able to keep him safe during the withdrawal come down from whatever substances he had taken. Less than 24 hours later, he absconded from the parents' home via an upstairs bathroom window and left a suicide note. They contacted the police, and in a very highly charged search, he was eventually found in an active suicidal action. Thankfully, it was in time, and after being checked over in the hospital for minor injuries, he was eventually sectioned and kept safe until the effects of the drugs had completely left his system and was ready to receive the proper treatment. It's clear that there are huge deficits between different agencies, and there needs to be more cohesion between them in order to deal with the situations where intoxication is potentially life-threatening in the come down. Sorry, I flipped the wrong way again. So what are the actual links to suicide? What spark, we understand from the research in America that there's an increased risk of suicide by up to 16 times. So we need to get better at spotting the signs. Ask what they've taken, do not judge. Ask them to check in with their mates and look out for each other. But the signs include things like lack of sleep, if they're agitated, or if they're, full of remorse, confusion, pupils dilated. Obviously, if they've been out all night, or you can pretty much guess that there's been some sort of substance involved. A surge in erratic and violent behaviour, including possible escalation in fighting and/or domestic abuse. We've been recently contacted by some services, and this will be interesting to find out because I know we've got some domestic abuse services on the call today. Whether there is links to this with the domestic abuse, and I think we're going to start building up a picture where that could be a case. So then the lows are compounded by remorse and regret, often a lot of debt, often that they may be in custody. So there's a lot of issues surrounding the violent behaviour that could be addressed. The third one is sleep deprivation and lack of food contributes towards poor or risky decisions, fatigue or severe mood changes. I don't know about you, but I can only go without a sandwich for half an hour and I'm feeling a bit crap. So if they're doing this, and they're a long time without these things, then there's a possibility that that's contributing to the way they're feeling as well. You could suggest getting some sleep without taking any further drugs such as benzos or other relaxants. Also to eat something, drink water to help rehydrate and to try and rebalance the blood sugars. Come down from use is described as hell, and that's probably quite a polite way of putting it. Try and prepare them for the come down 2 to 3 days after. Explain if they feel overwhelmed that it's the chemicals reacting, and to talk to somebody and keep them and try and keep them to stay safe. There's a terminology that we've heard a few times called Suicide Tuesdays, and it's quite often that there are absences at work at the beginning of the week, and I mean, I don't know whether we're going to find out when more research is available, if there's any particular days that this happens on. That would be interesting to investigate. But yeah, I've heard that term quite a few times. And then the crisis response, what can be your crisis response to somebody in this situation? Some of the resources that can help, obviously suicide prevention lines, which is always a little bit of a battle of wills, I guess, because, you know, if they don't feel that they've got mental health problems, are they going to ring a signpost line? But I've got quite a few resources at the end of the presentation that you can either screenshot or take down, and obviously there's hundreds more to that as well. So we need to kind of stop the stigma in a way, not in a way that advocates drug use, but we've got, so, you know, there's a lot of stigma surrounding suicide, as there is. I think there's a whole lot more with drug use because it's illegal. And the only way we're going to challenge the narrative of this culture is by actually talking about it openly. Suicide itself has enough stigma in its own right. So with cocaine being illegal, we also have the fear of criminal investigation and general culture shaming. Quite simply, we're not going to save lives if we don't address this issue. We need to educate and inform and be non-judgmental about sharing this harm reduction information. We've got things like, you know, all of these issues that come as a result of stigma. Getting people, particularly men, to talk is difficult enough, especially when, as we've shown, they don't think they've got mental health issues, which is why I believe men aren't reaching out for help when they are in the emotional crisis. One of the things that stuck in my mind for quite a long time before I came to this subject, I saw a program with Grace and Perry called All Man from about July 2016. If you've not seen it, it's well worth a share. And the mother, in it, a mother talked about her son Daniel, who took his life at the age of 30. Like Tom and Jacob, she described him, her son Dan, as fun-loving and the life and soul of the party, and said that his death absolutely shocked everybody who knew him. He would be the last person I would imagine to take his own life, she says. And it's a phrase that I feel that is relevant to this cause. And it's that I think he felt like he didn't want to die in the moment. He felt like he wanted to die in the moment, but he didn't want to die forever. And I think that's really, really sad, and it is really preventable, I believe. So I've got a few little bits and pieces. This is the Christmas poster we've produced, which is available for sharing. If you want to print off and post on your local pub loo toilets, it'd be brilliant. Or if you want to take it down to your barbers. Leaflets and cards are available on request, although I'm running low at them at the moment. And basically, that is probably the end of the... Yeah, we've just got all the signposts in there. So if you want to take a screenshot or take some of those details down, including my own, which is top left,